This is Joseph at LifeSource Christian Fellowship. Man, you all would have loved the outtakes from my attempts at creating this video. They are funny, but can't use them. There would be many more questions than there would be answers from that one. So in this video, I'm just saying, let's get at it. So the discussion here that I am presenting is about the concept of pets and whether or not there are pets in heaven. So someone did pose that question on Facebook, and I committed to responding to it. And the Lord's saying the same. I'm doing that from a biblical perspective. But let's just talk about that just a minute. So when most of us think of pets, we're thinking of our dogs or our cats or our favorite, life companions, fish and so on, maybe turtles, maybe even a pet monkey or a pet orangutan or something like that. But usually we're thinking of, pretty creatures with big eyes and big ears and floppy ears and a nice, froofy tail, and they're cute and cuddly that we can be at least emotionally intimate with, if not physically, unfortunately. And so most of us, that's what we think of as pets. In fact, we've gone so far with pets today that we no longer even call them pets. We call them family members, and we're, instead of just being pet owners or things like that, or pet caregivers, animal caregivers, now we're pet parents and pet partners and so on. So that there is an entire group of people who have made animals our companions. And so we're going to get to that. But let me just say that part of the reason we have that is because the entertainment industry has driven this concept. And our love of pets, which to some degree is unnatural, has driven us to this point where we equate our relationship with pets to that of our relationships with people. So to be there's one good example to be entirely upfront from the Twilight Zone. And in the Twilight Zone, there is a hunter. He's back there in Buck Tussle, Tennessee, or someplace. He's hunting with his dog. He and the dog go after some creature, and they both drown. They think they're alive, but they have both drowned, and now they're in some new world, some new world where that looks kind of like the land they've lived in, but it's just a little different. And as they're walking along, the hunter, Jed Clampett and his dog Bo are walking along. They first come up on a guy who's standing there. He's dressed like a shady businessman, if you can imagine that. He's kind of like a shady business guy, kind of shifty eyes and everything. And he says, "Hey, welcome to heaven. Come on in here. But you got to leave the dog." The Jed says, "Well, I can't leave my dog. I can, Bo's my lifelong companion." He says, "Well, you can't have him in heaven. We got rules here, and dogs aren't allowed." He says, "Well," Jed then says, "Well, if I can't bring Bo into heaven, then I'm not going to heaven. I'll just stay right here." And he says, "Well, you're missing a treat." But it turns out, at least, that the actual place that they stopped at was hell, the entrance to hell, and the person inviting him in, and not Bo, was the devil. They walk along a little further, and they meet up with this guy who's really friendly, young, and just smooth and easy and relaxed. And he says, "You got a nice dog there. He looks like a good hunter." He says, "Yeah, Bo's a nice dog." He says, "Oh, his name is Bo." "Hey, Bo." Bo goes right up to him. He says, "What's this place?" He says, "Well, this is," the guy says, "Well, this is heaven." He says, "My name's Pete," or some people call me Peter, but my name's Pete, and you just come on in whenever you're ready. He says, "Can I come in now?" He says, "Yes." Jed says, "Well, can I bring my dog Bo? He's my lifelong companion." And Pete says, "Well, yeah, everything's welcome in heaven. Just come right on in. And we've been waiting on you. There's a celebration going on." And so, and we, of course, when we see something like that, those of us who have pets, dogs or cats or squirrels or gerbils or mice or snakes or whatever, we're thinking, "Oh my God, that's going to be great." So the question becomes, can we have pets in heaven? That, are there pets in heaven? Essentially, is my pet gerbil going to be there? My pet goldfish, my pet turtle, is he going to be there to greet me when I get to heaven? And so I want to make sure, first of all, to understand why we have pets. Because, again, most of us think of pets as cute, cuddly little, big-eyed little creatures that we can, usually not exactly, slimy, but some of us love slimy creatures. Some of us love crusty creatures, platypuses and such that we keep as pets. Some of us love, not just goldfish, but hey, pet sharks and pet whales and pet dolphins. That works too. But either way, we've adopted them as sort of lifelong companions. And so what I want to make sure that we understand is why we have pets. So at the beginning of creation, certainly post-flood, shall we say, pets have become our partners, first of all, in matters of survival. That's what we understand to be the case. We've got dogs and cats and crows and hawks and eagles and such as companions for hunting. And for companionship for long trips where we're having to chase down food as literally as life partners. Yes, cats, they're still hunters. I mean, people tell stories all the time of cats bringing home dead mice and rats and so on, and they drop it off at the store, at the doorstep. Here's my contribution to the family, to the family sustenance, to the welfare of the family. And dogs actually do that too. In fact, most hunter pets will do that if they don't do it with us. But that's usually the first reason, and that's how we believe pets came to be. Pets came first into existence as a concept, as partners in hunting. The second reason that we have pets is really just in flat plain terms for intimacy, for companionship, for sharing, and for love, in the absence or as substitutes for human relationships. I'll repeat that. The second reason we most often have pets is as a substitute or in place of or in the absence of human relationships. Why is that important? It's important because the Bible says in Genesis that God looked on all the animals he had made for man and determined that the animals were not compatible with him as companions or as mates. And so God made woman as man's companion and mate and partner. So what does that mean? It means that as a source of intimacy, as a source of closeness, as a source of companionship, as a source of comfort, as all of those things, God made man for woman and woman for man. He didn't make Rover or Queenie or Duchess or Marmaduke. He made woman for man and man for woman, and that's just not as sexual partners, but he made us also as family, as brothers and sisters and friends and neighbors. He intended for all of our comfort to be met in this existence by one another as human beings. Much as animals run together for comfort, as dogs run together, cats run together, and so on, and gnats and spiders and ants, hang together. And so, in exactly that sense, the idea was that companionship for humans be other humans. Amazing, isn't it? That's exactly what's supposed to happen. So now we have pets in place of family. We have pets as substitutes for wives, and I mean that. That's what's happened. We have pets, we have animals, rather, as substitutes for wives, husbands, girlfriends, boyfriends, we have as substitutes for human companionship. In fact, animals now have become our substitute for relationships with God. We spend more time talking to our dogs and cats and fish and dolphins and pet horses than we do God. And so they become our relationship. That's why we are now talking about having pets in heaven, because we have lost the sense of value of human companionship, and we've replaced that with animals. And not just animals, creatures of every type. For example, we get on you. It used to be when you got on an airplane, the person that would get on an airplane and there would be just a seeing eye dog. It wasn't a comfort animal. It was actually a service animal. You'd have a seeing eye dog or an animal that you needed to help you see or navigate around. Well, now we have what we call comfort animals. Someone invented that phrase. And again, those were initially little cute puppy dogs and kitty cats and things like that we brought on the plane with us. But something happened and someone sued or complained. And then suddenly we had pet rats, pet mice, pet squirrels, pet goldfish, smaller fish. But we graduated from that to chickens, horses, hawks, falcons, eagles, turkeys, yes, on planes, boa constrictors and snakes of other kinds, on planes as comfort animals, as service animals. Really? Yes. So now it's becoming extreme as people bring on pet spiders and pet beetles and bugs of every type. Now imagine this. So we're talking about, are there pets in heaven? That plane becomes a microcosm or a small example of heaven. We get to heaven and we're trying to, where God intends really for creatures that are eternal beings to exist. Pets or animals rather, and insects and those kinds of things were not created as eternal beings. They were created for this universe and for this level of existence. That is why, from Genesis to Revelation, you don't see pets or animals or insects and those kinds of things roaming around heaven. In fact, the Bible is very clear in Genesis that He did not make pets or animals to operate as pets as we know them now, and to serve in the role that we have them serve now. He intended animals for this existence, for this plane of existence, for this universe, if you will. And He intended people to be the comfort and the companionship and the love for each other in this existence. And He intended for Himself as God to be our primary companion and source of power and strength and joy and hope in heaven. And so the fact of the matter is, to put it nicely, is that there are no pets in heaven because there's no need for pets in heaven. The way we have developed animals to operate with us in this life, to some degree, has become quite inappropriate and ungodly, because we have used them as substitutes for family members, mothers and fathers and sons and daughters and husbands and wives and boyfriends and girlfriends. No, I'm not kidding. When you have someone who says, I can't imagine living without my dog, but I could live without people, something is wrong. You probably want to talk to God about that, assuming you even believe in God. But if you believe in heaven, then surely you believe in God. And if you believe in God, then you ought to want to live the way God intended you to live. And the way God intended us to live is by engaging and sharing and building and comforting and supporting and being intimate with each other as human beings. And that's not to say pets are a bad thing, but we want to make sure that we keep a perspective as to what God intended in us having pets and in us having animals as companions. Nothing should substitute for our relationship with each other as human beings. And definitely nothing should substitute for our relationship with God. That's supposed to be the nature we have with God. That's how God made us in the beginning. He didn't make us to be companions with animals. He made us to be companions with each other as human beings. And therefore, so the Bible says that in heaven, there's not even marriage. So there aren't even husbands and wives. That's not to say we're not family. We are family. We are family with the angels. We're families with each other. And we are family with God. That's what the Bible teaches us. There's no family with dogs. So, all dogs go to heaven. Nice movie. It's interesting. All cats go to heaven. Nice movie. It's interesting. All spiders, rats, roaches, and so on go to heaven. Okay, here's the problem. The Bible is very clear that we need to build our relationships with each other as human beings and our relationship with God. That's the perspective it has. So no, there are no pets in heaven. If your relationship has gone so far that your relationship with your animal companion is as a pet parent or as a pet partner or those kinds of things, that's not the Bible. That's not Christianity, and that's beyond a relationship that God intended. I grew up with dogs. I understand. I love them all. I miss Geronimo, my first dog. I miss Lady, our second dog. Wonderful. I miss Samson and Goliath. Wonderful dogs. I miss them all. But I don't miss them more than any human being I've known. Well, maybe a few enemies I disliked. But none of them are above God. But there isn't a pet that I know of, an animal that I know of, that would substitute for any of them. Not at all. They are prime importance to me, and God most of all. That's the calling we are held to. That's how God made us. That's how God intended us. So yeah, if your relationship with your animal companion is such that it, since it could be pretty much anything, a gnat, a rat, an ant, a bee, yes, all of those are pets, are potential pets. A scorpion, a salamander, fine, a tarantula, all kinds of pets are roaming around out there in people's hands. Really? The Bible says there are no pets in heaven because our companionship is with each other as family and with the Lord, who supplies all of our needs and all of our desires, which will be much different than many of those we have as a result of this physical body and this life, this level of existence. Please think about that. Thanks for asking the question, Irene. And my name is Joseph. I'm the head waiter at LifeSource Christian Fellowship. If you like this video, please press the like button. If you have questions about it or you want to argue with me about it, no problem. Please ping me. Email me at j-washington@newlifeinjesus.net or at info@newlifeinjesus.net, www.newlifeinjesus.net, or go to the Facebook page, LifeSource Christian Fellowship on Facebook. Contact me directly on Facebook, Joseph Washington, or call me at the number you see below. Text me and raise your concern, most definitely on this or any of the other videos or the subjects that I raise. Thank you for sharing, and hopefully, if you don't have a working relationship with a human being that's more important than your pet, I want to urge you to talk to God about that. I sure do. Thanks for listening. God bless.